This is Robert Clinkybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing business content from accomplished leaders to bring you value, scale your business, and better yourself personally. We hope you really enjoy the show, and I encourage you to share with your network so they can subscribe and we can expand these messages globally. We are also super excited to be supported by two brilliant sponsors. If you're tired of measuring properties, Site Recon platform fully automates measurements so you can focus on sales. So think measurements, think Site Recon. The other sponsor is Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Company Cam brings documentation, communication, and liability protection together in one simple, easy to use app for you and your entire team. Company Cam is the only app every landscaper needs. Check it out. Hi, this is Robert Clinkybeard with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. I'm super excited today to be joined by Greg Crabtree. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, glad to be here.
So, Greg, it's been a long time since we spoke, but good to see you. Hopefully, you're doing well.
Doing well. There is no lack of demand of businesses trying to figure out how to navigate this crazy marketplace, that we're in. So, on the one hand, that's good. The challenge that we all are facing is how do you get the labor to meet up with demand, and that is a common issue that we're seeing.
No, absolutely. What types of things? I mean, you've obviously. You're really close to a lot of companies that work with. You're now with. You sold your company, which was the Carr. You're now with
Carr Riggs and Ingram is the firm. So technically we merged. So I just handed them what I had. And I'm still doing the same thing that my team and I have always done. So we just get to do it on a little bit bigger stage, but it's kind of been the same thing. And so. We added something for them that they had not had, which was, a consulting practice. All accountants do some measure of, they'll call it consulting, but, we just have our simple numbers process. So we have a repeatable process that a playbook that we know works, and it has, some really good success. And, we love to see our clients celebrate their successes with greater profitability, better cash flow, a more valuable business, which is certainly a trend right now. A lot of our clients are actually in the process of actually doing transactions, and so it's a very active marketplace, no doubt.
That's great. So you're obviously close to hand to multiple different companies. When you give a broad summary of how companies, what's been probably the top 2 or 3 learning experience of your clients over the last 18 months going through COVID?
Well, I think the big things are, so one of the things, and I think I mentioned this in the last time we chatted, was, we have a 100 company model that we use to track economic performance, because there really isn't any good economic data that's reliable to say what actually is happening in the private business economy. And what we saw was that, so with our practice being all over the U.S., we have international clients as well, but in our model, we just focused on the U.S. And so it's about $1 billion of revenue. So it's a good data set. So we feel pretty confident that it's telling us the truth, of what's actually going on. And what we saw, and this goes back into the research that I did for the Simple Numbers 2.0 book that came out last November, is that model goes back to 2013 and then scales forward. And we saw double-digit growth, and this spans both administrations and both political parties. And so my first statement is, if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. I mean, they may aggravate you, they may help you, but at the end of the day, we all kind of figure out how to make a living. And so you just have to know what the rules are, and entrepreneurs kind of figure it out. Yeah, there's some industries that are more particularly affected than others, but the vast majority of the marketplace, I'm a big believer in, the economy is the economy. It is going to figure itself out. And I'll show you a slide here in just a second that'll really drive it home, to your audience. But really, we saw double-digit growth all the way up until 2019. So around 15% average growth year in and year out, all the way up until 2019. What happened in 2019, just go back and look at the news reports before we knew COVID existed. And what was it saying? Record low unemployment, record low people looking for jobs. We ran out of labor. And let me reinforce the number one thing that we tell everybody. There is nothing productive that happens in any business in the universe that doesn't require labor. And when you don't have labor, you can't grow. All you can do to grow revenue is raise price. And guess where we're about at again.
Right.
And that's one of the things driving inflation. And so COVID caused people a little bit of disruption of people. Some businesses paused and some labor became available. And then, we've seen it take off again. So when we look at our model for year over year growth of March of 21 versus March of 20, so COVID year versus pre-COVID year, the economy, our model is up 9%. So it wasn't down. Now, and in our model, there's winners and losers. So there are some industries that were down, but there's enough people that were up that overall it was an expansion. It wasn't a recession. It was a restriction. But most people kind of found a way to kind of keep going, in that process. Here's the other startling find. Those businesses, the model, and don't use this as your target because this is a very blended model of business models, but the average was 8% profit pre-COVID. It was 10% profit in the year that COVID existed. And that does not include PPP. This is just pure economic profitability.
Okay.
Those businesses grew and they were more profitable. COVID caused people to stop and pause and look at their business and say, turn off any unproductive cost and then let's get skinny. And then all of a sudden, as the people decided to keep going, they did. They kept going and said, oh, well, maybe I don't need to turn that cost back on. And once again, you kind of pick up some profitability of the people that they shed. This goes back to, let's revive Jack Welch's comment in his heyday at GE. You need to terminate the bottom 10% of all employees. Well, guess what? A lot of people, when they were trimming labor, they didn't trim the best, they trimmed the bottom 10%. And that was actually the average. During that impact of COVID in that month of April to June, we saw about a 10% reduction in direct labor. And that's pretty much kind of what you can expect is people trim the bottom 10%. They only trim management labor by about 5% because management labor is a lot harder to hire back. And so you're going to hang on to that management labor longer in that process. But then from there, we saw that labor spend go up. And as they got people back, there was some wage inflation. There were some people that had to be paid more because other people were demanding that. And now as we flipped around to the next year, I mean, we're just in this crazy market of rising prices, and that ain't going to stop anytime soon. Rising wages, that's not going to stop anytime soon. Now, there's a spike right now that is going to be harsh. It could be 15, 20%, could be 30 to 40% in certain hard to access skilled positions. So be prepared for disruption. But then it's going to settle in, but it's probably going to continue at a 5 to 10% annual increase, much higher than what anybody's ever thought. Because here's the deal. I mean, we don't have enough people. I mean, and so you can see this imbalance of open job positions to unemployment, but it's a mismatch of either those people don't want those jobs or they're not skilled for those jobs. But, we're below replacement birth rate. I mean, so we ain't making enough people. We were at 2.4 replacement birth rate in 2001. We're at 1.8 today. I got to tell you that's pretty tough math.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so artificial intelligence will pick up some things, but not everything. I mean, it still takes humans to make things happen. And so I really think the idea is the best of the best are going to find ways to kind of reach down the scale of ability in that labor market and find ways to hire and rapidly develop labor to the skill set of what they need. So I think you're going to see an evolution of highly focused, customized training, whether it's done in-house in the company or there's a potential for businesses to launch to do highly focused, specialized training in certain industries to make people employable and get them productive, in that process. But at the end of the day, it's physics. And so let me show you this graph, because it's one of those things that I did a presentation for the EO. You'll have to enable me to share here. But I don't know how many people will watch this versus listen to it. But essentially, this is a really stark representation. So this is our 100 company model that I was talking about. And so this goes back to 2017 rolling 12 data. And so focus on these two top lines up here.
Right.
The blue line is revenue. It's based on this right axis. So it's about $1 billion of revenue out here. And then the orange dotted line is on the left axis, and that's total labor. I don't care if it's direct. I don't care if it's managed, just total labor.
Okay.
Notice that these two lines are perfectly correlated.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. They will always be perfectly correlated. It's just the way it is.
Right.
Now, back here, you'll see that revenue was slightly above labor, and that was because pre-2019, we had enough labor and the economy was still on this 5 or 6 year expansion run. And so as revenue was going up, it was pulling labor up by employing more people. We hit COVID, we ran out of labor. The two lines intersected here, right at the end of 2019 was when we ran out of labor.
Yeah, I see that.
And then COVID
November, December. Yeah.
And then now notice what's happened as we come out. So labor is above revenue. So now we have a labor pulling revenue economy. And so what's happening is you've got this situation of where as labor pulls as labor goes up, because you got to pay people more to get them or keep them, it's going to cause you to raise prices. You have to. I mean, it's physics, and so this is that situation that we've had a couple of clients that kind of said, "Hey, I've been trying to not raise prices because I don't want to contribute to inflation." I go, "Well, that's very, very magnanimous of you. You'll go out of business if you don't do that."
Yeah, I was going to say that, because a lot of clients I work with, they say, "Well, are you preparing your budgets for your clients for 2022?" And they say, "Well, no." And I said, "Well, if you started to anticipate what those labor rates are going to be, what's your average rate now?" And a lot of them are almost like burying their hand in the sand, because they don't want to have those tough conversations with clients.
Right.
But as you've just shown there, I mean, that's essential for them to stay in business, or to at least have some type of profitability.
Well, and you also have to be in the industries that live over longer term contracts, anything beyond 6 months. You've got to have some outs that when we get in, we're going to have. This may not be the only rapid increase in price period that we face in the next 5 years. And so you've got to have an ability to reprice. Now, generally, to put that in your contract, if you go reprice it, the customer then can opt out of the contract. But what you can't do is do a 2-year contract with no price increases.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can look forward enough and predict what your cost is going to be 2 years from now and still be in business.
Yeah, and from what I think I heard you say earlier, you're definitely looking at minimum 5, maybe even 10%.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're, you kind of look at just go buy a Whopper, with fries and a drink and see how much that costs you. Yeah, it's a good index to kind of hold yourself accountable to. And
what other things are you sort of either seeing creatively in the marketplace some of your clients are doing, or what other things are you, I suppose, recommending to your clients just to,
Well, certainly the idea is we're trying to get people to focus on, yes, profitability certainly is where it starts and get profitable. But secondly, then it's also about, can you make it to where I don't have to spend my money at risk before I get paid, or can I shorten that risk? Can I get paid faster? Can I turn that, what I call trade capital, faster of AR plus inventory minus accounts payable support minus deferred revenue. And so during COVID, we did see a lot of businesses being very, very gracious and fair on terms. Now, part of it was we were pumped the economy full of PPP loans and everybody had a lot of cash and everybody's feeling pretty okay about it. We've seen that start to tighten a bit. And so I've seen some of the bad actors, who I call them financial bullies. Because if you think about it, if you were going, this is my pitch to the world. If you're going to do finance in a fair and equitable way, you need cash to flow as cash is being deployed. And so if I'm having to pay for labor, I should get paid pretty quickly for the labor that I spent money on. If I have to buy materials to do a job, I should get paid as I'm buying materials for those things. And so if you think about it, why does somebody not pay you in a more timely basis? Well, there's only three reasons. Number one is the customer doesn't have the money. Maybe I don't want that person as a customer. So that's the easy one. Second, they don't trust you. They want the job completed before they release payment. Well, there's ways to improve trust. I mean, do you have a good reputation? What's your rating from your customers and all those things? And then the third reason is they just want to be a financial bully. They want to be, the company that has the cash and we have the power. And if you want to do business with us, it's going to be, just beat you up. Well, I kind of advocate, well, let's just don't do business with those people and let them have the dregs of the bottom part of the supplier marketplace and let them go out of business. And there's been some very famous big name businesses that have struggled because they did have onerous vendor terms that were abusive. And, but I will tell you, if you want to have a great economy that everybody wins, just get money to move fast. What we want is fast moving money, and everybody wins. Everybody can be fair with their profit. It creates a lower barrier to entry for new businesses and competitors. And if you have that, because when you raise the barrier to have capital just to be able to start a business venture because you got to wait 60 to 90 days to get paid, you've created a smaller universe of potential competitors. And those companies need to get it through their thick skull that that's not in their best interest. They have the cash. It's not like they're making any money on it by sitting there holding it. I mean, you're getting a fraction of a percentage of interest. That's nothing. That's a rounding error in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So, Greg, I know you have to jump off here, but how do people get hold of you? How can they get hold of your book?
Two ways. I mean, certainly reach out, greg.crabtree at cricpa.com is just my email address. And one of the best ways to start. Simplenumbers.me is the book website. So certainly, there's multiple videos and free resources that we put out there to help people. Both books are available on Amazon. The audio books for both are coming out soon. I've gone into the studio and recorded myself reading both of them. And I'm really proud of that. It's interesting to go back and read the first book 10 years later after I wrote it. And I have to admit, when I got done with it, I kind of paused and said, that was a pretty good book. So
Greg,
it's still quite relevant. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely refer your book to multiple people and really appreciate everything you do for EO and all the other people out there. So thank you, Greg, for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Robert. Be well.
Okay, cheers. Okay,
bye-bye.
Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and we've got some great takeaways for your business and your personal life. This is Robert Clinkenbeard along with David Anderson, and we'd love to get you and your friends to join us on our journey. Two quick things before you go, listeners. Check out our website, thecommerciallandscaper.com. You can subscribe, you can share with your friends, but more importantly, check out our sponsors. We have Site Recon, who are going to help to capture measurements on your property and create a really streamlined process. And we have Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.